Welcome back to the 504 Core podcast. We're with Zack Nagy again today. Zack, what's been going on, man? A lot in the transfer portal, huh?
Yeah, man, these last 7-8 days have been crazy. We got 1 week down of the transfer portal winter window, and it's getting crazy, man. LSU's cooking. We've seen a lot of departures, but I mean, all that does is free up roster spots for some other guys to come in and make an impact. And Brian Kelly said that they'd be very aggressive in the portal, and they're doing just that. So, yeah, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to the portal. I'll tell you that much.
I don't know if I want to do the next target portal, or do you want to go over like a quick recap of what they got? I'll let you kind of pick.
Yeah, probably do a recap of all the guys that they've got so far. They're up to 8 additions right now, 4 on each side of the ball, and these are immediate impact guys, man. Like you're bringing in some players that can really step in on day one and shine. And it really starts with Barion Brown, the Kentucky wide receiver who they got in. They got him in for a visit last week, and it was really done once he departed. And then he went public with the decision after all the paperwork went through compliance and whatnot on Saturday. So to get Barion Brown in on this team is pivotal. He's a speedster. He holds the SEC record for the most return touchdowns in the history of the conference with 5. So this is a guy who can kind of dominate in all facets of the game. 120 plus receptions, 1,500 plus yards, double-digit touchdowns. I mean, he's a Swiss Army knife, a true jack of all trades. So to get him on board and get him signed and locked in with the program is pivotal. And he's going to step in on day one and really, really make an impact.
Does Zavion Thomas out of eligibility, or is he coming back?
He'll be back.
Okay, so who do you think will take the? Do you think Barion Brown will take like the kickoffs and Zavion will take punts? How do you foresee that going?
It'll be interesting. That's something that is kind of a quote unquote problem that this team hasn't had, which is an embarrassment of riches on special teams. Zavion's proven to be an elite returner. Aaron Anderson took one to the house this season, and now you throw Barion Brown in the mix, and you got 3 speedy, twitchy wide receivers that can really enter the mix on special teams as well. So it's a big-time addition, and they certainly have some players to kind of divvy the snaps up between.
Yeah, I'll keep it with the receivers. They obviously added another kid from Florida State. What's his name? Hill? What was it?
Yeah, Destyn Hill. That's a big one. I mean, a lot of people are going to sit back and look at the production from college, and I completely understand that. He's had probably one of the most crazy college careers I've seen in this new era. I mean, he's a 2021 recruit, but didn't enroll at Florida State till 2023. Didn't really put up too much production in 2023 with a loaded roster. And then fast forward to 2024, and he got injured. So in the span of 4 seasons, he's only played 1 year of college football, and that was in 2023. And he's a standout from Louisiana. I mean, he dominated at Edna Carr, and he was a really high-regarded recruit, 4-star, top 5 player in the state of Louisiana. And now he comes back home with the chance to develop his skills and then also just get back on track, get back into kind of a strict Brian Kelly kind of regimen. And I think it'll be really, really good for him. We'll see the role that he takes this season. I'm not quite sure it's going to be too large in 2025. When I say this season, I guess referring to next season, his first season with LSU. We'll see the role that he takes on, but look, he's got some experience. He's a good player. It's just a matter of getting everything clicking on all cylinders, and I think that's the BK effect that can help make that happen.
Why didn't he play during that span?
I'll just say personal matters. I think there was just a couple of different things that he needed to work out on his end in order to kind of get eligible in a few different areas, and it took until 2023 for that to happen.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you foresee any receivers transferring out?
I think you've already lost Kyron Lacey to the draft. You already lost Landon Ibieta. Shelton Sampson, a former 5-star, high 4-star, already transferred out. I think at this point in time, you've got your rotation of guys that are coming back from last year, whether it's Aaron Anderson, Zavion Thomas, Kylan Billiott's a guy to keep tabs on, Jelani Watkins. I mean, you have weapons to work with in the receiver room, and then you factor in Destyn Hill to come in as kind of a reserve piece. You bring in Barion Brown, another guy that's potentially on the radar too. So you've got an embarrassment of riches to work with. I don't see anybody leaving right now during this winter window just because you started bowl practice. I mean, you're in the midst of it now. It started last Thursday. So you might see some guys transfer out during that spring window, that short 10-day period in April or May. But for now, I wouldn't see anybody leaving at this point in time.
Another name that's kind of on LSU's fans' minds and, kind of rumors is Nick Anderson. What do you got for him? Do you hear anything? Do you think he's going to commit? Is he taking other visits? What do you think?
Yeah, I've spoken with a couple different people about Nick Anderson's process, and you're starting to see Texas A&M start to swing for the fences as well. It was always going to be a battle between LSU and A&M for Nick Anderson. I mean, this is a player who also has had kind of an interesting career. I mean, he redshirted in 2022. Fast forward to 2023, and he burst on the scene in a big way. 38 receptions, nearly 800 yards, double-digit touchdowns. I mean, he rewrote the record books for freshman wide receivers with Oklahoma. And then fast forward to 2024, he got injured. He had a quad injury. And now, kind of, once he entered the portal, he became one of the hottest commodities on the free agent market. He's a top 10 overall transfer, top 5 receiver, and LSU and A&M are just swinging for the fences, man. And this is one where he was in town on Sunday. He came in and checked out campus, met with Brian Kelly, the rest of the staff, and the visit went really, really well, to the point where LSU felt like they've positioned themselves in a good spot for him to go public with the decision. We'll see when he does that. I will tell you that LSU is trending in the right direction here, and I'd be surprised if it went another way. But A&M's not going to go down without a fight. We know they're willing to shell out the dollars. It's a 2-man race, and I think LSU's positioned themselves well enough to kind of get across the finish line with the 6'4", really physical receiver that you really need to add to this room, man. Like, we've talked about it time and time again, and they got the speedsters in Brown, Zavion, Aaron Anderson, etc. You got to go get that tall, lengthy, physical receiver. That's exactly what Nick Anderson is.
Yeah, they really don't have any like big play guys. I guess Trades Green would be your big receiver / tight end kind of player, but yeah, they really don't have anyone like him. So that'd be interesting to see. I would assume they're not going after any other receivers besides Nick Anderson, right?
No, and part of me felt like right when you got Destyn Hill on board, that led me to believe that you got Nick Anderson on board as well, to kind of wait until he goes public with the decision. But those are the guys. Those were the 3 guys that they were going after. The goal was always to add 2 to 3 receivers. You got Hill, you got Barion Brown, and now you kind of sit back and play the waiting game until Nick Anderson makes his decision, which wouldn't surprise me if it came out within the next 24 to 48 hours.
Why would you think Hill committing has something to do with Nick Anderson? Like, what's the correlation?
Because at that point in time, I think Destyn Hill knows his place, that he's going to have to come in and work for it. And you don't allocate dollars to somebody else unless you've already allocated dollars to another spot. I think Nick Anderson has a very hefty price point, and I think you've already matched that. And then you have dollars in this hand that you can shell out as well that are quote unquote left over that you can give somebody like Destyn Hill. Because I'm not going to say he's a cheap guy to get, but it's been a roller coaster career. He hasn't proven himself. So it's kind of like one of those bargain deals, and we'll see what happens with it. But I really do think that there's some correlation there when it comes to Nick Anderson and obviously that Destyn Hill signing.
No, I mean, college football right now is uncapped free agency. It's kind of like the MLB. So, Destyn Hill probably goes as like a, rookie deal, and Nick Anderson goes for a nice free agent. So that's just kind of how it is at the moment. I know Eric Singleton, the Georgia Tech receiver, he has LSU in his top 3 or 4. But yeah, that I saw on 3 reported that it was like $1 million that he's going to get. So do you think LSU actually has a legitimate chance there? I would assume they're not going to get him if they get Anderson, right?
Yeah, at this point in time, I'd probably pull away from kind of LSU potentially getting a guy like Singleton. He's commanding a ton of money, as he should. He's the number 1 wide receiver available right now. Which got those heavy hitters like Miami, Texas, etc., really pushing for him. And they have unlimited pockets. I mean, they can go out and just kind of shell out as much as they want. And I think LSU feels comfortable with the position that they're in right now with who they're trying to lock down in Nick Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah, no, everyone circled wide receiver for position and need in the offseason, and they're fully capitalizing on it. And Brian Kelly said he's going to be aggressive in the portal, and he definitely has been. So we'll see in the next couple of days. It's 3:00 on the 17th. So forgive us if anything pops after that. But yeah, another one, Sharp from Oklahoma, the tight end. How do you see him playing? Do you see him being like in a Mason Taylor role, or do you see him be like more of like a traditional tight end role?
Yeah, Bauer Sharp, he's an interesting one. I mean, he's not the best receiving tight end, yet he went up to Oklahoma and led the team in receptions and receiving yards in his lone season there. So it's an interesting kind of player. I wouldn't expect him to take on a Mason Taylor-like role just because Brian Kelly likes his physicality and likes the way that he can put his hand in the dirt and improve the run blocking that LSU needs. He's a guy that can pull and kind of expand the rushing attack. And I think that's why Brian Kelly went out and got him. You can use his hands when necessary, but he's a pivotal piece in the run blocking game. And that's one tight end that they've gotten, but I would fully expect them to go out and get a second one as well. I think that was the plan all along once Kimari and Pimpton ended up departing for the portal. You're sitting with a razor-thin tight end room right now. You got Trey'Dez Green, who's kind of a wide receiver, tight end hybrid. You bring in J.D. LaFleur in the 2025 signing class. Those are the only two scholarship guys you got right now. Then you add in Bauer Sharp. I would expect them to bring in a fourth guy as well to come in and compete for significant snaps, and that might be more of a receiving tight end role with Bauer Sharp being your blocking guy.
Isn't there some like Southeastern tight end in the portal right now? It's kind of getting some. Oh, yeah, Terrence Carter, yeah, but I thought Southeastern had a guy too. No,
not that I've seen. They might. I just haven't seen.
I think Oklahoma or I don't know, something like that. But yeah, Terrence Carter, dude. If LSU can get Terrence Carter, that'd be really big. Terrence Carter is a stud. But he seems more like a receiving tight end than like a traditional like blocking tight end. But yeah, I haven't heard anything on Terrence Carter. That'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But yeah, one kind of big surprising commitment was Michael Van Buren. You want to go into detail on why LSU kind of went after that position?
Yeah, that was a shocker. That was one that was kept quiet, hush. I mean, that was a complete shocker. You're looking at a guy who started as a true freshman in the SEC for Mississippi State. And I think a lot of people can sit back and say, oh, it's Mississippi State, whatever, and then look at the box score and be like, nah. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is a guy whose film just jumps off the page. I mean, he balled against Georgia. I know it wasn't the result that they wanted, but he has a lot of tools that this coaching staff is very, very intrigued about. You're looking at a guy who started 8-9 games in the SEC as a true freshman, made 10 appearances as a true freshman. I mean, it's unheard of in this day and age for these year one guys to step in and make any type of impact at the quarterback position. So for him to do that was fantastic. And then he enters the portal and LSU comes in and then swings for the fences and ultimately gets the heir to Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, it's a big deal. If Garrett Nussmeier were to go down, you are left in a very, very thin spot. A.J. Swan has not proven anything. Collin Hurley is a guy who just turned 17 last year. He's extremely young. I think there's a ceiling that can be reached for him that can be really good, but the goal was to always go out and get another quarterback in the portal. And I did not think that they were going to go get an SEC starter to come in and sit behind Garrett Nussmeier. So it's a pivotal signing. And a lot of people overlook it right now because he won't be an immediate impact guy in 2025. But now you have kind of that heir apparent to Garrett Nussmeier. Fast forward to 2026. It's a pivotal signing. I'm really excited to see what he can kind of work out and get ready for when his time comes in 2026.
Do you think they're going to use him in like some kind of offensive packages? Kind of like what the A&M did with Marcel Reed at certain times until he took the job. But yeah,
they could. I think the goal here would be to redshirt this season in order to keep all 3 years of eligibility afterwards, just in case. I think eligibility is key nowadays in this new era of transfer portal and making sure you can kind of maximize all the years that you've got.
Time out. Do you think eligibility is key to the player or to the program? I would think the program doesn't really give a shit anymore.
It's key to the player. It's key to the player. I don't think programs give a damn. I think
programs don't care at all.
Yeah. When you're looking at an era right now where you're quite literally signing 1-year deals, you're a free agent after every single season. Right. You want to make sure to maximize all 4 or 5 or 6 years of eligibility to the best of your ability. And I think when you look at a guy like Van Buren, man, you need to make sure to keep all the eligibility you got because that market of quarterbacks is so just thin. There's a fine line between an SEC starter and an ACC starter. I mean, it's a completely different world. So a guy like Van Buren needs to keep all the eligibility in the tank that he can. I'd expect him to redshirt in 2025 and not necessarily have all these packages, but you can play up to 4 games plus the bowl game. So technically 5 games and still get some snaps under your belt.
Yeah, I could see him in certain situations. You never really know. I would guess after when Nussmeier leaves, unless they go after someone in the portal, you got Collin Hurley and Van Buren. That'd be pretty interesting to see how it plays out. Collin Hurley's been here for a little bit now, or a year now. So, I know some LSU fans were kind of upset to say. Well, LSU fans get upset over literally anything, but they were like, "Oh, what about Collin Hurley?" It's like, "Oh, competition." So that LSU's looking pretty, and then obviously transfer portal is always an option. So I'm trying to think. Did they add anyone else on offense?
They got Bauer, Sharp, Barion, Brown, Van Buren, and Destyn Hill. That's all 4 on offense. We nailed all of them.
Yeah, besides Nick Anderson and maybe another tight end, are they looking at like, Braylon Moore, the center? That's the one I keep waiting for. I'm a big believer in like building in the lines. If you have a bad offensive line or bad defensive line, it makes the game a lot harder on you. What's the latest with him? I mean, I keep hearing that he's going to pop any second. What's going on?
Yeah, so Braylon Moore, Virginia Tech center. He's a very coveted guy in the portal right now. LSU's firmly in the mix for him. He's fresh off of a visit to LSU, and it's a big one for this program just because you lose 4 starters from the offensive line in 2024. You're seeing Emory Jones and Will Campbell forego that final season of eligibility, depart for the 2025 draft. Garrett Dellinger, Miles Frazier, they're out of eligibility. They're gone. The only piece that you're bringing back from 2024 is DJ Chester, and it's no secret that he was your weakest link this year at the center position. So his natural position is at guard. If you go out and get a guy like Braylon Moore, that allows him to slide over to his natural position of guard, keep Moore at center, and then you start to work with the other pieces that you got that you've been developing. And Braylon Moore right now is a premier priority target. It's just a matter of when, not if, for me, when he goes public with a decision. And we'll see what ultimately happens there. But it's a big one. You got to continue to bolster up the depth in the trenches, and to get more would be a significant get. I mean, he's the number 2 interior offensive lineman in the portal right now, has ACC experience. He's kind of a captain of the offensive line. So to go and get him would be a very big deal for this program, especially when you're losing 4 starters from this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they add him, in my opinion, I think that'd be the biggest. Even if they add Nick Anderson or whoever else, I think that'd be the biggest add. I mean, having a center, a good center, means a lot. I mean, you see in the NFL, you see in college, like if the center goes down, your chance of winning plummets. So, are they looking at any other offensive linemen, or is it just kind of him at the moment?
The one guy that they were looking at that they were trying to get in on a visit was USC's Mason Murphy. He committed to Auburn ultimately. So for right now, there's not that many guys on their radar per se. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of pieces in the portal from an offensive line perspective right now that kind of have gauged their interest. I think you might see some others enter the portal sooner rather than later that LSU might start to get in on during this winter window. There's a lot of teams playing in the playoffs right now. There's a lot of different scenarios here. So I think the one guy that they're really on right now is Braylon Moore. We'll see what happens down the stretch, but when it comes down to it, that's the one guy that they're really honing in on at this point in time.
Well, then you look at, Brad Davis's recruiting lately. I mean, it's insane. You would, I was listening to Moscano the other day, and he was listing all the guys he recruited. He must have listed fucking 30 guys. And I was like, okay, so, you got to hope at least a couple of those guys step up. So if you get more, and then you get, I don't know, Weston Davis, and I don't know who else he played the other tackle. You just kind of hope one of these younger guys step up, and, maybe they will. So kind of flipping to the defensive side of the ball, obviously, is DBU back, Zach? I mean, what's going on?
Dude, I mean, look, Corey Raymond is an elite level evaluator, an elite level recruiter. I mean, the guy is he's dominating right now. We can start with what he did on the 2025 class, going out and getting the number 1 cornerback in America, DJ Pickett, the number 1 cornerback in the state of Louisiana, Aidan. Those are 2 immediate impact guys. And then you fast forward to the portal, and you go out and get the number 3 cornerback in the 2023 class, which is also a top 10 cornerback in the transfer portal class, in Jakeem Jackson, a player that Corey Raymond recruited when he was at Florida. It's your second signing. It's about as big as it gets. And then you go out and you go and get Mansoor Delane. I mean, when that all kind of finalized really quick, that was one where Mansoor Delane was on campus. LSU did not want him to leave. He had a visit to Ole Miss lined up, and then boom, LSU just did what they needed to do. We'll put it at that. Did what they needed to do in order to get him to commit to LSU, and they got him. That is about as big of a signing as it gets. And funny how we're talking about his ex-teammate in Braylon Moore also being a pivotal piece. But Mansoor Delane is the biggest addition that they have on defense to this point. He's about as versatile as it gets in the secondary. He can play safety, free safety, cornerback. He's just a defensive back Swiss Army knife. So Is DBU back? I mean, you're trending in the right direction, man. Like the talent is there. Developing the talent is next, but you have got an embarrassment of riches back there right now.
Yeah, he's retooled it pretty quickly. How do you see? I mean, obviously it's early. Safeties are almost impossible to predict, but how do you see the starting cornerbacks day one from December 17th, 2024? What's your prediction for the starting two cornerbacks?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because you bring back Ashton Stamps and you bring back PJ Woodland. Ashton Stamps is a guy who started and he was solid. He wasn't fantastic, but he was solid. And now you kind of look at a thing where does he slide over the nickel? Like what do you do? Like, what do you do schematically with your cornerbacks in order to maximize all the talent that you got? You pencil in Delane as a starter, whether it's at free safety or cornerback, he's a starter. Whether he's a boundary corner or a free safety, he will be a starter. And then you look at that next role and you see what happens. Jakeem Jackson's a player that needs to continue getting healthy and continue to get more development under his belt. PJ Woodland needs to continue to develop, put some weight on. Ashton Stamps could also be a guy that starts too, man. Like, I can't necessarily pencil in two guys right now just because there's a lot of talent to work with. Aidan Anding's a guy who's, I think, is going to surprise some people as well. So it's hard for me to just pick two, man. You got 5 to 7 guys who can really, really step in and make an impact.
Yeah, thank God they got some talent. Yeah, I could see Stamps kind of moving to like a nickel spot. I think that'd be interesting because he's a little undersized, but he could get bigger. Woodland, that'd be interesting. He's a baller, but yeah, he still needs a little time to get better. Do you think they move Pickett to safety? I know that was kind of a thing in his recruitment. They were talking about now keep him at corner. Is he like strictly a corner, or have you heard anything about him possibly going to safety?
Yeah, a lot of people want to talk about potentially sliding him to the safety role. I mean, I just don't understand why they would want to do that, just because if you're a lockdown cornerback, why play out of position? We've seen that with a guy like Sage Ryan playing out of position, and we don't want to have that saga happen over again where you kind of burn a 5-star and you don't know where to put him. DJ Pickett's a cornerback. He's dominated at the cornerback spot. Let him work right there. We'll see what Corey Raymond and company elect to do, but I say if it's up to me, I say keep him at cornerback, but there's a reason why those guys on LSU staff get paid the money that they do to make the decisions that they do.
Yeah, I think they'll do well. Another kid they're hosting today is the guy Byard from South Florida.
Yeah,
he's a safety, huh?
Yeah, he is, and right now he is. I mean, safety is your biggest need. Safety is the spot that you need the most. You've got a bunch of guys. Braylon Moore's trending in your direction. You've got Nick Anderson trending in your direction. You've got a tight end already. You'll likely get another one. Now you've got to start to handle the safety position, and it starts with Byard right now. You were in on Zechariah Poyser. I had the opportunity to talk to him last week, kind of pick his brain and see where his head was at from his recruitment. He was visiting a slew of schools. I mean, he visited LSU, Auburn, Miami, Georgia, Florida. He had a top 5 that was very, very kind of cream of the crop. And then about an hour ago, he kind of pulled the trigger and committed to Miami. So it's the number 2 rated safety in the portal, and he kind of made his decision, and he's going to go down to Coral Gables and suit up for them down there with Mario Cristobal. So Byard's your top guy. He's a priority target. He's in town right now, and you can't let him leave. He's visited Virginia Tech. Now he's visiting LSU. He's got a Colorado visit lined up as well. You got to try to get him to shut things down right now before it's too late, because the safety kind of options in the portal are slim pickings. So I think Byard's your top guy right now, and you got to get him to shut it down and do all you can.
Yeah, I would not want him leaving here and then going to Colorado without a commitment. That would be a disaster. Dion, you never know. He could land anyone, honestly, in my opinion. So are they looking at any other safeties in the portal or not really?
It's been pretty mum on that front. It's been a little bit quiet. Sounds to me like Byard's their top guy right now. Poyser was kind of a player that they thought that they could get a chance for, and then the longer he kind of dragged it out and went on more visits, they kind of got less optimistic. And now Byard's kind of your guy that you want to try to hone in on right now. Other targets I haven't really heard too much on at this point.
Okay. And then Jack Pyburn, obviously you listen to an interview that guy has, you get pretty psyched up for him. How do you see him? Do you see him like a first and second down guy? Do you see him as a pass rusher? How do you see him in LSU's offense?
Man, he's fun. I mean, that's a critical edge rusher. I mean, he's fantastic. He's energetic. He wants to be on the field every down he can. And then you get him paired up with Kimari Butler too, the Nebraska edge. So you kind of got your 1-2 punch that can come in and make an impact if need be. You lose Zavion Jones, you lose Braden Swinson. That was your tandem from 2024. And now you go out in 2025 and secure your tandem for the future in Pyburn and in Kimari Butler. But kind of coming back on your question, I see him on the field whenever he wants to be. I mean, this is a guy who can come in and make an impact 3 downs, however much you need him to. He's energetic. He's coming off of a career year in 2024. It's a pretty big get, and especially for them to get him to shut things down after an A&M visit, it's a big signing for this program.
Yeah, just his mentality, what he's going to bring to the room. I think that's going to pay big dividends for LSU's defense. So one last thing, are they looking at any other D tackles in the portal at all, or that you've heard of, or not really?
We just saw a Texas defensive lineman enter the portal that Bo Davis recruited to the Longhorns. We'll see if they end up pushing for him. For now, they feel pretty comfortable with the bodies that they have, it appears. Kind of that's just me guessing here. You'll probably see them add 1 to 2 defensive tackles. I just don't know if any of them are in the portal right now that they like.
Yeah, I know you got to go soon. Bowl predictions, score predictions, what you got?
I think LSU needs to go out, swing for the fences, and dominate Baylor. You got to go into the offseason with some type of kind of momentum, some type of hype. If you can go in with a second-team offensive line, let Garrett Nussmeier use the weapons that he has, stay healthy and stay clean, I see no reason why they shouldn't beat Baylor. It's big. I mean, you're not going to get to 10 wins this season, but if you can get 9, carry that momentum into the offseason, I think it's a big deal for this program. I expect them to go out and win that one.
Yeah, I think bowl games at this point are becoming almost evaluations for the future, especially those second-tier bowl games. So I kind of expect that. But, yeah, that's all I got. Anything else you want to add? Are you good?
No, that's it, dude. We crushed everything that we needed for the portal.
All right, perfect. All right, if you guys can like and subscribe, appreciate it. And thanks for tuning in. See you next time.